It's time to nerd fight!
Step into the ring, it's time to brawl. Nerd fights, baby, we're geeking for all. Marvel, DC, Trek, and more.
Fire.
Pop culture battles, settle the score. Nerd fights, let's get loud. Nerd fights, yeah, for the geeky crowd. Nerd fights, hey, it's time to throw down. Bring your fandom, it's the hottest showdown. Who's got the takes? Who's got the heat? Mr. Know-It-All and Salty can't be beat.
That means only one thing. It's time to fight.
Beat drops out with the final shot.
Nerd fights.
Let's fight!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, Nerd Fighters. I am Mr. Know-It-All, and of course, joining me is the captain of this starship, Salty Trekker. Sir, how are you today?
I am present.
Right? So funny enough, you had, I know you haven't had a chance to see my review about midway toward we were at the latter part of the review and you had just gotten out because all of a sudden, and I even said, that's Salty on my phone. I picked up this and I was like, he's totally calling right now. And so I just wanted you to know, you guest starred on my review with Mrs. Know-It-All of the movie, this excellent shining piece of cinema that the world, there's no argument about. Everyone has happy about, right?
Yeah, I have not seen a negative review at all.
Not a one.
Yeah.
Not a one.
Every review has been fair. Every one of them has had nothing but sound and reasonable argumentation about why they believe what they believe.
I got a comment on my shorts. It literally just goes dumb. And I was like, dude, really? If one word? And then he comes back with, well, I think that Harrison Ford's, a Trump impression. And I was like, well, look, first off, not everything has to do with modern politics and is a comment.
Yeah, and I heard people say, the President Ross is just a stand-in for Trump. And I was, I'm nobody's fan of Donald Trump.
No, copy.
And so I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. Okay.
It's not there. They were
right. Because there's nothing about Ross that is Trump-esque except for the fact that they're both, I guess you would say, probably Republican. Right. Sure. So that's about
right. He literally is. So if you know anything about the comic books, Ross has been that myopic, military-minded, whatever, forever.
Right.
And so and in fact, there was the Red Hulk storyline in the comics actually explores some things, which by the way, Red Hulk in the comics does indeed have a mustache. I think it's funny they didn't want to give him one here.
Yeah. Well, that flashback where we saw him.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
And he's sitting there shouting into the thing. I was like, oh my God.
Now and I'll be completely honest. Look, guys, if Disney and particularly Marvel wanted to be as stupid woke as everybody thinks they are, then first of all, you give give Harrison Ford a spray tan. You have him like doing all sorts of craziness, like what liberals think of Trump, and then he turns into the Orange Hulk.
I hate you so much. You're fired, sir. Get it? You're fired. Anyway.
That would be hilarious. Though.
Oh my God, it'd be super funny. It'd be super funny.
All right, Orange Hulk with the Trump hair on top.
So
I'm surprised nobody's done that yet.
No, I appreciate that. So, guys, what we do on the weekends, it is Open Mic Saturday. Yes, we're going to be talking about primarily Captain America, the new movie, the Brave and the Bold. I'm saying Brave New World that opened up on Thursday. But for the most part, as we go, we are absolutely going to interject. We're going to jump in with your comments as you guys start commenting about stuff. And you really do run, or you're the third host, if you will, of the show on Saturdays. Wednesdays, while we do talk, or do talk to you guys, we generally come in with an agenda. We have stuff we want to cover, and we move on. But on Saturdays, you guys are absolutely part of the conversation. So would love to hear your thoughts either on the topic we're discussing or because it's open mic, randomly you just come up with weird stuff.
Yeah.
But you want to hear more about the triple timeline? That guy is absolutely willing to tell it to you. So
or you want to hear about Luke Skywalker being gay?
Bro, I just saw that. Did anybody else catch that? Oh, it blew. I was like, really? This is what we're doing?
Yeah. So Mark Hamill, look,
he's something, man. I'm not even going to insult him. The man is something.
But here's the thing. This is why I get on people about separation. We talk separation of church and state. No, separation of actor and role.
Bro,
because Mark Hamill is not Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill does whatever Mark Hamill likes to do. Luke Skywalker is the heroic character from the Star Wars saga. And those are two different people. And same thing with any character in any movie, assuming that the actor actually can act.
Yeah, no, true.
There's a
Fair enough.
caveat, right? That the actor is capable of pretending. Then and that's why, like, I've had people on my channel try to argue, for example, and if he's listening, he knows I'm talking about him. Is how John Hamm is an American hero because of the character of Don Draper, because he genuinely believes that John Hamm must be like Don Draper, right? And it's like then during that live stream, I actually looked up John Hamm, and it's like, hey, look, he's a Democrat. Hey, look, he was actually worked on the campaign for Hillary Clinton. All this stuff that
Sure.
But this person,
well, that's like sitting here going, Alec Baldwin is not the uber right wing guy from 30 Rock.
Right.
Okay? He's not that guy. Trust. And the people are like, well, he's trying to be like that. Not at all.
Yeah.
These are actors playing roles.
And for what they do, like, for example, Harrison Ford is a certified nutbag when it comes to his personal opinions on things.
Oh, very much.
He's perfectly willing, and this is absolutely true. He's perfectly willing and defends endangering the lives of other people by flying an airplane in a reckless manner.
Oh my God, so much.
Which he did do, right? However, all that aside, I care about how did he portray Thunderbolt Ross, not whether or not Harrison Ford is, on his Cessna going, get off my plane,
Right?
So, which, by the way,
totally right.
Marvel, what is wrong with you? Okay, so here's going to be my biggest complaint, all right?
Why did we get so much?
We talk about how horrible this movie is everywhere, right? So here's why this movie sucks, right? And why Marvel is like the dumbest company.
Chilling here.
So in part of this movie, we transport the scene from basically Washington, D.C. and Tokyo and stuff down to the Indian Ocean where the body
Celestial Island.
where the body of the Celestial is poking out of the water.
Yeah, by the way,
the hand in the head.
Those of you playing at home who didn't realize, they absolutely finally addressed the Celestials after 9
it's a
movies.
big part of the story, actually.
Very.
So during that time, now Captain America and there's a scene. So Captain America and Falcon. No, those are not the same person. I'm sorry, critical drinker. I want to punch you in the face. Falcon and Captain America are two different characters, and they're both in this movie.
Absolutely.
Right. But anyway, so
I kind of dig the new Falcon. By the way, we can talk about it later if you want, but I do like him.
But Cap and Falcon are having a disagreement with President Ross on the aircraft carrier, right? And this is my absolutely biggest complaint about this movie, right?
Sure.
It's not necessarily the way the actors were, the way it was shot, or anything like that, but how much better, and I'm being 100% serious here, how much better would that scene have been if it took place on Air Force One on the way to the island, and then when they got there, they got the notification that our jets were approaching the Japanese fleet because of the whole thing we'll get into later, and and then Cap looks at the president and says, "Sir," and then he just looks at him and goes, "Get off my plane," and then they jump out and intercept.
Bro, see, again, writing a better movie every time.
That would have been so. Now, don't get me wrong. The way they did the scene was fine, but at the same time, Marvel does like to throw little, winks to the camera every once in a while, and that would have been an absolutely perfect one.
Absolutely.
Man. But yeah.
So all right. So one of the things we want to do is let's talk about it. What are some of the things that because I actually the truth is I actually enjoyed the heck out of the movie.
Yes.
Do I think it's like the Paragon? It's great. It's this and that. No. What's the first thing you said to me when we finally got on the phone?
I said it's about time we got a proper Marvel movie again.
I agree. I agree 100%.
And I even said, is it the best Marvel movie ever? No. But you know what? It's a good Marvel movie.
Very, very. I
That's
think it's a very
and that's
serviceable Marvel
all
movie.
it needed to be.
Agreed.
You know,
I
people are
agree.
saying, "Oh, this should have been, the most spectacular." I don't. You know what? No, not every Marvel movie is going to be Infinity War.
Agreed. No,
You
it's
know,
not. And too many people. That's the thing. Too many people think that they want to treat because of the bad decisions of some other the previous CEO Chapek and making everything go to streaming fast. More content. That's all of a sudden like those are the end things. Listen, there was a whole bunch of time. Now I feel like everybody forgets that we have seen more good realistically than bad overall. Now, have some really bad decisions been made? Absolutely.
Right.
But at the same time, not every movie is going to reach the heights of Endgame. Mrs. Know-It-All on the review yesterday pointed out that it's not. It's one of those things where, as you go through these, yes, you're going to have ups and downs, ebbs and flows. And the example I gave on my review was Blue Beetle was a perfectly functional superhero movie. The problem was it came after the likes of everything in the MCU and everything else. It's like it's hard, so that's making it average. And I feel like but everyone was like, it sucked. It's the worst. No, it was really. I thought it was a fine superhero movie. Same thing with this. This was a fine superhero movie. I thought it set him up well, bro. The first time he got, I said, the first time he got capped when someone was like, "You go Capitana," blah blah blah. I was like, oh. Look,
Yeah.
he's being called Cap in the Wild. I liked it. I was like, do I think it's realistic?
Right.
I don't necessarily know. I think they should have.
Well, keep in mind,
somewhere he has to
Cap,
deal with
Cap
somebody.
did say, and yes, I'll call him Cap because he is Captain America
100%,
right now.
100%.
But Cap even I first of all, I like the fact that he himself was having doubts through this movie
Right.
about taking on the mantle and legacy of Steve Rogers. And it wasn't until the cameo with Bucky that he kind of realized that no, he doesn't need to be Steve Rogers. He needs to be Captain America.
Right, agreed.
And which is never that. By the way, what I just said is never said in dialogue, but that's definitely the vibe that I got. Is that he realized at that point, yeah, he's not Steve Rogers. The one thing that it is like you've seen in the trailers, you're not Steve Rogers. But
Yeah. Oh, but then you notice so many things from the trailers didn't happen, which I know happens, but like this was almost egregious because the line where he says, "No, I'm not," didn't happen.
Right.
So I hated that because I felt like that you allowed this fool to shut up, Captain America. You allowed him
But you
to
see, but I actually like that because that was when Cap was still in his unsure phase. And so, for those of you that don't know, that scene is very early in the movie, and so there's like an action sequence, and then a little bit of setup, and then that scene.
Right.
So I really Thomas. I don't know. This guy just showed up. So and yeah. So
these are kind of in random order, so don't expect that too much of these are going to be. They're going to be. It's just for us to have some window dressing while we talk about it.
So actually, that first picture even brings up something else I want to say about the movie in general before you get into specific plot points and stuff. Is that in some ways, this movie really reminds me of Star Trek 4.
Ooh,
and I'll say what, not because it's funny or silly. Like Star Trek 4, I know was the funny movie.
Yeah, true.
But the reason being that in Star Trek 3, they left a lot of loose ends. In Star Trek 4, the writers worked with what they had and brought it into a cohesive story. And so, like for example, the end of Star Trek 3, they had, the bird of prey, the Enterprise was destroyed and all that. In Star Trek 4, they used the bird of prey in ways the Enterprise could have never been used. Obviously you couldn't land the Enterprise in Golden Gate Park, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. And so, and could you imagine that fishing boat if it was the Enterprise that showed up in front of the whales? And it wouldn't have been a big problem for Scotty to beam a couple of whales on board, right? So there's a lot of things that created drama and that they managed to use from previous Trek movies to set this one up. Spock had at the end of Star Trek 3, he had literally just been resurrected by a weird Vulcan ritual. So in Star Trek 4, he's not quite all the way there.
It's exactly how it went down. No, I got you.
Yeah. And so they used all of that to build a movie. This movie takes all the loose ends from the MCU, dating all the way back to the second movie in the MCU. They take all these loose ends and brings them into one cohesive story that actually works.
Yeah,
and all these people that say, "Oh, well, this is just," and it's like, did you not watch this? And I do get part of it, because I'll tell you. So I was watching Critical Drinker's review. Sorry to pick on him, but his review was very egregious. And I'm trying to remember what the plot point was, but it's one of those things that you're like, oh, you weren't paying attention.
Right? Or like, dude, are you obtuse? What's going on? Go on.
Well, no, like, gosh, I wish I could remember the actual plot point he was mentioning, but it was, it had something to do with the leader. But he was basically, I don't know if it was purposefully or if it was just because he wasn't paying enough attention, where he like said, well, this doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, it would if you'd listened.
Agreed.
Would.
Yeah, no, we're dead on.
And so if you were sitting there on your phone answering texts, or maybe writing a script for your review because you're looking for things you can make fun of, then sure, maybe you didn't catch it, and so like, again, the fact that he won't even call Sam Captain America. He calls it, just so you know.
That's like last week. That's that thing you were talking about, like the J.J. Abrams thing. Yeah. It's like, dude, if you go, if how do I go into anything you're telling me objectively and trust that any of your opinions are in anyone's best interest other than your own? Because as film punditers, as part of the film punditry community, we have a responsibility to, at the very least, be like, look, my opinion on something is this. Right. Your mileage may vary, unless you're stoking an audience of hate and rage, because that clearly gets clicks. Whatever. Here's the thing. What's funny is I know several guys online who always go contrary, who are like, I love the movie. And I'm like, you punks, you only love it because everybody right now is like, a lot of folks are sitting here bashing it, because normally they're the opposite. And it's like, come on, man. Is that how we're doing this thing? I legit tell you my thoughts. Just like I know you do.
And that's like, I've always been, and I've said it from day one, I've always been a Marvel fanboy. I've been collecting Marvel comics since before most of this audience has been born.
Right on.
So I've always been a Marvel guy, more than DC. Yes, Superman's the most iconic superhero ever, but the Fantastic Four are the greatest superhero team of all time. I don't care what anybody says. I will die on that hill. But when we get to these Marvel movies, so do I have a little bit of a bias? Sure, but
okay, that's fair.
But when I hear people like Critical Drinker, and here's another factual error he made. He got into what he called, now I got to admit, it was funny, at least part of it was funny. But so he basically was talking about the insanely diminutive size of President Ross's security chief.
You're talking about Ruth? Whatever her name is. Is that the name of the character? The character's name is Sabra. Sabra's her.
So she's tiny. Yeah. Right. She and so like
super tiny.
Yeah. And Critical Drinker made a couple of jokes about it, and I thought some of it was funny. And I don't mind throwing a little jab here and there, which is Critical Drinker's style. That's why I still watch his videos, because I think they're entertaining usually. It's just the problem is that when he's talking about something that I've seen and then I listen to his review of it, I'm like, dude, you did not watch the same movie. And that's happening more often than not, unfortunately.
Or you almost hear like an obtuse, really, really like guys, really, we're going to, yeah. No, I'm with you. It's rough. Go ahead.
Like he'll say, why did this happen? don't know, right? That's one of his little cliches, which is fine when there's actual things missing. What I don't like,
Don't know.
yeah, yeah, have you've heard him say that, haven't you?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I just thought your version of it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, creep? Welcome back. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So when he so if he says that about something that's in the movie, like for example, that he did not do this, but like let's say he said, "Why did President Ross become a Hulk?" Don't know, right? If he had said something like that, I would have been pissed, right? And because I expect him to at least try to be intellectually honest, even with his jokes. But
Sure.
back to what's her name again?
Sabra.
Sabra. So back to Sabra, who, by the way, I liked in this movie. And so just to make this clear, so he basically said, well, of course, Marvel had to get in their obligatory girl boss scene. So they inserted this woman. And so then he talks about, and okay, so
Hold on real quick. Is that can we go back to all the Critical Drinker ones where Natasha is called the girl boss? I just want to make sure because I'm sure he's consistent.
Yeah, he never does.
Right?
But, yeah.
I'm sure that they're all consistent. The haters, I'm sure.
No, of course. And so then, okay, this is where he threw the jokes in, and I did think it landed for a second, but then he drug it out a little too much, which is and it starts with a legitimate critique of Hollywood in general, right? But I do not think this critique applies to this film, where he talks about the fact, he goes, well, I've mentioned many times how I do not particularly care for when a woman can throw around guys that are twice their size, right?
In his own movie, that was a thing.
Right. And so here's what he said, and this is what really got me because it was funny. He goes, in this movie, that's literally true because she's so small, right? But the problem is, okay, so you weren't paying attention because the way that she fights them works. She's not throwing guys across the room. She's fighting very much the way that Black Widow fought in Iron Man 2, which, by the way, which I love that scene where she took out all those dudes in Iron Man 2 because she wasn't punching them and sending them flying across the room. She was using moves that you would see in like jujitsu or something like that, where she'd wrap herself around the person. And I don't care if you have a little 90-pound woman, which is probably what this girl weighs, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have a little 90-pound woman able to jump up and wrap her arms and legs around your neck and pull back, you are going down. I don't care if you're 6'4" and 400 pounds, that kind of weight put on your neck will pull you down. In fact, that's something I learned when I was in the Army, as far as how to take down people that are bigger than you. And the easiest way is to put a lot of pressure on a person's neck. Agreed. No person can stand when they have a lot of pressure being put on their neck. And that's exactly what she did. And I really liked it. And in fact, and the way that she moved, I mean, man, it almost reminded me of Yoda from Attack of the Clones.
Totally. That's a great call. Yeah. She's totally Yoda-like.
I genuinely enjoyed her. She had a hallway scene similar to Black Widow's.
Absolutely.
In this movie.
With the guys,
right?
The soldiers. Sure.
Now, her similarities to Black Widow. Now, some people will use as a thing to say, "Oh, it's cut," and a lot of complaints about this movie. Oh, they copied this from this movie or whatever, and it's like, again, were you listening to the dialogue? Because early on in this film, when they researched who this chick was, because they were suspicious that she might be a bad guy, they found out that she was a Black Widow. And so she would naturally fight with the same style as Black Widow.
Absolutely.
Right. Because she was a Black Widow. And it's like, as far as copying things from various Marvel movies, first of all, this is a Marvel movie. And it is a Marvel movie that's picking up a lot of lost threads and putting them together. So, of course, those things are from other movies. Yeah. Of course, the leader was actually hinted at in The Incredible Hulk, and some of us have been waiting for him to show up until now. But which finally he did, and I'm so glad they did not do the Marvel standard and kill him.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. The fact that he's still around, I think, is very interesting. It's an interesting choice that I didn't expect. I totally expected him to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that they were going to kill him, and I was like, oh, too bad, because I could see this version of Leader. I would like to see, like, what would he do if he could get access to Doctor Doom?
Right.
You know, and
What did you think so what did you think of all of the stuff in terms of like one guy points out I think it's Critical Drinker in his post online. He was like he uses Ant-Man's helmet, he uses Black Panther's
right.
absorption-y thing. Of course, he's got the shield, he's Captain America after all. Like what and by the way, he clearly has done amazing homework. I think once you're bestowed with the mantle of Captain America, you suddenly can defy the laws of physics and just bounce that thing any which way that the plot
But
requires.
that was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where he
And that's
learned
what's
how
just,
to use the
I
shield.
remember, right? But I also think the idea is crazy.
Right.
Oh yeah, so the Victor D. Giuliano says he was killed in the original version of the movie. They shot a funeral scene. Actually, Victor, my understanding is that funeral scene was a fake Ross death scene. I could be wrong. Feel free, everybody, to point it out if I'm.
That
if
would
I am.
actually make sense if Ross, because especially the way that the final phase of the Red Hulk fight, that
Yeah.
last move could have easily been written to have killed him.
Oh sure, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm actually I would tend to think that if they did shoot a funeral, it's probably for Ross, and I'll bet you that Liv Tyler was going to be there, and that was going to be your emotional moment where she's like she never got a chance to connect with Dad.
Creep asks, is there any connection to Fantastic Four and Galactus with the dead giant baby Celestial in this movie? Not Fantastic Four and Galactus, but there is a lot to do with the Celestial. They call it Celestial Island, and it's apparently where spoilers. By the way, yeah, we're spoiling the whole thing. It's the source of adamantium. So adamantium has now been introduced into the MCU. Thus,
Right.
as Know It All pointed out in my review, paving the way for Wolverine and mutants and stuff like that.
Not just Wolverine, but like the fact. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, the country that actually has the most adamantium right now is Japan. And so I would not be surprised if they use that to introduce like Silver Samurai, and or some other Japanese character, or start making characters that have adamantium katanas to slice through anything, kind of thing. And
Thank you, Andy Phantom. Andy Phantom's pointing out that about 15 minutes or more behind, but wanted to say I'm very much liking this discussion. Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it
you
so much.
from me from the future past. I get confused. So yeah.
No, you're good. He said Salty Trucker, the Marvel DC story, as Robert was talking about, comic story is the universe where everyone was turned into zombies. It was Zombie Hulk that smashed Zombie Thanos' head like a grape. So yes, the MCU nerfed the Hulk severely. Edward Norton's Hulk would have stomped Thanos, I believe. I actually do too. But then again, if you know what's funny, the most accurate Hulk, and I had this discussion online, was actually the Eric Bana one. Because Hulk has always been the more enraged he gets, the stronger he gets, and the larger, more pronounced his musculature gets. I think they went cartoonish in that movie.
Right, because Hulk got to be like 20 feet tall at one point.
Also like bloated big.
Yeah.
But I actually, it's funny, more germane to this movie, I love the fact that when we see they cut to a clip where he's talking about Harlem. It's literally Hulk, the Edward Norton Hulk. They didn't redo it to the Mark Ruffalo Hulk. It's the exact scene with dude, and I'm like, okay.
Although okay, here's a question I have, because I have, when this movie comes out on Disney Plus, you better believe I'm going to check.
Totally.
But was that scene they showed of Harlem being destroyed, was that old footage or was that new? Because I don't remember seeing it from that angle.
That was old. It may have been. Remember, they probably had 2 or 3 other scenes or versions that had been completed, and then the finished one. So if it was quote unquote a new angle, it may have very well been. But the one thing I did notice was Hulk was the Ed Norton Hulk. So it wasn't. They didn't add. Whereas if they would have redone it, I assume they would have used the Mark Ruffalo model or Mark Ruffalo version of Hulk. This was not that, and I thought that was interesting. Victor's pointing out it was old footage. I have to kind of believe him, but I'm with you. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. I just say I won't know for sure until I'm able to go side by side. But even if it is old footage, actually I should say, regardless of whether it's old or new, yes, the fact that they kept the integrity of that scene as to not pull like what everybody thinks with Star Trek, they decanonized. No, it's they are still saying the Incredible Hulk is canon in the MCU, even though the Hulk and Banner look different, but this is not the first recast. I mean, the funny thing is that okay, so we went
Actually, I
from
think technically it would be the first recast
well,
because
yeah,
of the time because of the time frame it happens. But no, I get you. I know what you mean. It
right,
would be
right.
the first.
Because well, yeah, because Edward Norton obviously a couple of movies later transformed into Mark Ruffalo, and there was no word about it, right? Just like and that wasn't even the first recast that we saw on screen because the first recast we saw on screen was in Iron Man 2 when Rhodey made a strange transformation to Don Cheadle.
True.
Um,
And then what does he do? He begins the classic trope of, yeah, it's me, I'm here. Let's move on. And
right.
I was like, where they
Yeah,
address it,
this one it's like, hey, I'm digging the new look.
yeah, they lampshade it. I was like, right on.
Yeah.
Victor asks, it'll be pushing it, or says it'll be pushing it to introduce adamantium and still have the MCU Wolverine have adamantium skeleton, unless it's a multiverse Wolverine. So I don't necessarily know if it's got to be that complicated. I feel like what you'd probably do is you get your first Wolverine movie as an independent character, and what you do is either is if you don't want to do an origin and you don't want to do like the original X-Men movie, what you do is you have him escaping from Weapon X, and we actually get him from that moment,
Like a proper version of X-Men Origins.
Yeah, but right, but in not a flashbacky version, an actual this is in canon as we move forward
Right.
version.
And the other thing is keep in mind that Hugh Jackman Wolverine is canon to the MCU as well, but it's also known he's from another universe.
Yes.
And so that means that you can have both a Hugh Jackman Wolverine and whoever they're going to cast as the new Wolverine.
Dude, just make Hugh Jackman be, especially if we're getting Battle World, we're gonna see Old Man Logan, but it's gonna be the real, like with the country hat style Old Man Logan. They jokingly put him in Deadpool and Wolverine. That's the guy who actually is on Battle World in Secret Wars.
Oh,
It's
okay.
that version. He's on a country house. He's got the beard. He's just living a retired. I don't want to mess
Yeah,
with
but
nobody life.
they should cast Henry Cavill in that role.
Oh, that'd be so. Dude, get a Cavalrine. Let's go.
Yeah. But
awesome.
yeah, so there's a lot going on in this movie, but so the funny thing I was saying about Ross is that okay, so we had a recast. We had the typical
Sure.
little wink.
Hurt, not John Hurt.
Yeah,
What's his name?
William
What's
Hurt.
his name? William Hurt. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, William Hurt, of course, died, and so they put in someone even older.
I do love the fact that they did give. We talked about it before the show. They did give us that brief flashback.
Well,
so
that's
at
what I was
least
going to say. So
to connect.
yeah, the weird thing is that William Hurt's Ross is canon still, of course, but we also have canon a flashback to that era with Harrison Ford playing the role.
Hey, I'm gonna. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I'm gonna hit this real fast because I think I want you to address it. Robert asked, "Salty Trekker also found out the other day from here on YouTube that Bird of Prey 5 passed away last year. Do you know what the reason was? Do you keep in touch?" Real fast. He did a full memorial video. Not to speak for Salty. It's on the channel, his original channel. It's a beautiful. I was there for some of it. It's a beautiful tribute, and but you can answer more. I just wanted you to address this real quick. I don't want him to be waiting too long. For this
So,
one.
Mama Prey has my information if she needs it, but no, I've been leaving her alone for the most part. Because I did have a long talk with her shortly after Bird passed, and any parent losing their child, that's got to be an incredibly rough thing. But he died of the same thing that kept him in that hospital bed for 10 years. So I mean, it was not, we'll just say, shocking. And in some ways, and this is something I talked to Mama Prey about this, and she agreed with me on that, is that this is ultimately what Bird wanted was ideally to pass away before Mom did. And part of that was because he didn't want to become a burden on someone else. And he wanted his mom to at least have some time in her life where she wasn't having to take care of him. And so in that respect, he got what he wanted. But yeah, and Thomas points out, yeah, LDG does still keep in touch with Mama Prey. I choose basically to leave her alone, but that's just she has my number, she needs it. And but as far as I'm concerned, unless Mama Prey or Sisso Prey or someone starts putting up a ton of YouTube stuff, I figure that they don't want the attention. You know, so.
Creep says, I never looked at Hulk being nerfed when Thanos beat him up in that scene from Infinity War. Thanos surprised Hulk with how badass he was and more experienced he was in hand-to-hand combat. So everyone has said that. And I want to say I believe something like that to a point. But I also feel like at least, again, I know he's not the Hulk from the comics. But in the comics, Hulk he's fought Doc Samson, which is a very much well-trained individual. He's had, and where at the end of the day, his rage will overcome most of that because you can't skill beat a raging bull that's going to sit here and just keeps coming no matter what you throw at it. Right. So it's I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm with you. I don't necessarily believe in. I didn't swallow that myself.
Agree. I'll simply say this: this is not the comic book Hulk. Right?
No, for sure.
And this is not the comic book of any of these characters. As much as I love Marvel Comics, the MCU, I mean, look, Captain America in the MCU is multiple times stronger than I'm talking about the Steve Rogers Captain America, is multiple times stronger than the Cap from the comics. Cap in the MCU is like Spider-Man strength. Cap in the comics is just a perfect human specimen. So he is not
with like slowed aging and a little bit of height and reflexes.
He's not superhuman in the sense that
like the way they have Bucky flipping cars in the trailer for what you call it. And I'm like, bro, you're super soldier, you're not Superman. Right. So chill with that.
But when we look at Hulk, yes, Hulk is in the comic book canon, Hulk is the strongest there is, as he would say. And that is true. Hulk, because the madder he gets, the stronger he gets, there's no upper limit to his strength. And that's stated multiple times canonically and in third part. Like when Marvel puts out stuff about heroes' power levels, Hulk, has no upper limit. It's just a matter of getting him pissed off enough to...
Yeah, Victor points out real quick, characters have whatever power level they need for the needs of the story. Cap was able to hold off Thanos Infinity War. Impossible, but it was cool, so it was justified. And even though it was for a fraction of a moment, and even, I love the fact they gave Thanos in that moment like a split second to be like, huh, and then he's like, bam, and he knocks him down.
Right. Because Thanos wasn't expecting a mere human to be able to...
Totally.
To stop him from... Yeah.
Yeah. About Hulk, though, what you were just talking about, there's a whole... So the best version of showing that is obviously Planet Hulk it starts with, which is they expel Hulk to another planet. He gets on Sakaara, not the Sakaara from the movie, but another from the Thor Ragnarok movie. But and then he has to fight. And as he fights, he continues to get angrier and angrier and stronger till eventually he overthrows it. And then he finds out that Earth's heroes are the ones who caused an explosion that kills his wife. So what does he do? He beelines it and surfs a spaceship to Earth and proceeds to get angrier and angrier, fighting everybody. And he becomes World Breaker Hulk. And he fights the Sentry, takes him out. He fights everybody. And then more recently, Jason Aaron did a series where you find out Bruce Banner has learned to turn Hulk. I think it's like Spaceship Hulk, and he basically, in his mind, he's created a cockpit, and he controls Hulk, and he has the ability to raise Hulk's rage anger, which makes him stronger. And it's
like the emotions in Inside Out.
It's crazy, but yes, it's how it is, and it's just unbelievable. And so they still do the power scaling like that, where he gets angrier and gets stronger. Pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't worry about is this accurate to the comics, because they've captured it. Okay, so the first couple of phases of the MCU in particular, they captured the spirit of those comics. They captured the essence of what made these characters great and put it on screen. That's what I'm truly hoping for in Fantastic Four, and based on the trailer, I think we're going to mostly get that. And that's what I saw on screen for this movie, which I really liked. Did they change the leader? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they capture what I think the spirit of what the leader represents? Absolutely.
So they did, but I've always felt like the leader was so yes and no. I agree with you on.
Well, the leader's primary thing is his intelligence.
But he's also in that intelligence, and they tried to have him have this guy do it with personality. But in the thing, he's very uppity in terms of I am so much smarter than you. It like takes narcissism to a whole new level. Like imagine not being a Hulk physically, but in being a narcissist. Like that's how much it took you to that level. And like he wears an outfit and keeps himself well put together. This was a very disheveled, genius, brilliant mind guy.
But he was
who had thought of
disheveled
all
for
the
a
angles.
reason.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
You know, he's been in prison for the last 20 years. And, you know, why Hulk red, Hulk green? Oh, don't worry. You know, I'm sure the Hulk Rainbow Corps, I'm sure, will be coming.
Oh my gosh, real quick. Victor says Sam Wilson was stabbed 2 places in this movie, and literally 5 minutes later, he's fine. Yeah, for a guy who didn't take the super soldier serum, he was pretty darn super sometimes.
Well, you know, here's a weird thing, and I don't know how much of this is due to reshoots and rewrites and stuff, because obviously we know that they did rewrite a significant amount of this movie when Kevin Feige said, pump the hate brakes on all the wokeness and stuff, and we're going to get back to what made Marvel great.
Let's go back to make Marvel great again.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they could all be wearing hats that say "Make Marvel Great Again." That would be awesome.
For years, we've always said because comics is why things happen. I think Victor, we now
Yeah.
know because movies.
Yeah. But here's what I'm saying. I don't know. I do think that this is due to some of the rewrites, because looking at the events and then thinking about the story and then thinking about the rewrites, here's what I think originally happened in the story. I think that after his fight with Serpentine, he was
Serpentine.
I don't know, what is his name?
With Serpentine.
Yeah. What
King,
is
King Koopa. I don't know. King Serpent.
King Cobra, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander. No,
Yeah.
wrong Franklin, sorry.
His Moff Gideon. So after
creep. MAGA, make Avengers great again.
yes,
I'm going to make they're going to be the best Avengers you've ever had. We're going to have Anthony Mackie leading it. He's great. He's the best Captain America. Trust me. Is what you're like, wait, what? No, go on. That was awesome, creep.
I love the blacks.
I know, that's right. Yes. With Anthony Mackie as the poster child.
So
That
anyway.
was awesome.
Man, no, what was I?
I know. I'm so sorry. We're talking. We keep throwing stuff off.
You messed me up. No.
We got to see. So we got to see more of Isaiah, and I love the fact that when they introduced Isaiah, they had a very heartfelt moment that I didn't. It's funny. I didn't see this as woke. I saw this as real. He says to him, he's like, I don't know, man, I have such a hard time seeing you wearing that outfit, working for this particular president, because he knows Ross and knows Ross's reputation. And he's like, I don't know if I agree, this and that. And he's like, someone like me wearing the outfit, I have to have hope. I feel like the reason why I see him as Captain America is because the character and the actor have genuinely embraced the Captain America-ness of it all. Yeah. He realizes I got to be a Captain America for everybody.
And Isaiah was, that was a major theme of Isaiah's arc in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. Isaiah said in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, there ain't no way they're going to let a black man carry that shield, right? But then Sam got the shield, right? And now he's saying there ain't no way that a black man should work with that president, right? And that could be like the only line in there that might be hints of Donald Trump ism as far as the way that writers think. But even that I didn't think was out of character for anybody, because it made sense considering Ross. Yeah. But and so that's something, it's kind of funny because Sam knows he's Black Captain America, but he's got to be Captain America.
Exactly.
And
I do love that. I love everything about that.
Right. And I think that's something we need to,
So Victor on my review put a really, really long, detailed, as he's wont to do, which by the way are always really thoughtful. He is a shining example and one of my proudest members of the Know It All Nation, because he always dropping the knowledge bombs. And one of the things he pointed out was, but as you go through the story of this movie, he remembers the last Captain America movie, the Winter Soldier. And remember that opening boat scene? It was impactful. It was really it was visceral, the way some things were happening. And then you get to this one in this movie. And though it maybe wasn't as over the top, at least that was his argument, my feeling was it still showcased Sam doing Captain America stuff, having the SEAL team. He's like, "Oh, you guys are coming, this and that," and in a very Captain America fashion, going, "They'll catch up. I'm going to go in." And he goes in and he's fighting and he does his stuff. And it's like you sit here. The one thing that I keep coming back to is this is the same guy who had retired and was helping counsel guys who dealing with PTSD. And now he's back in the fray and he's fighting big, huge honking dudes. And it's like, oh, sorry, Stanley, we did start early. I actually didn't mean to schedule it for 3:00 their whatever time. It was a mistake. And we were like, I was available sooner. So we were like, let's jump in. So I apologize, sir.
It's his fault.
It is totally my fault.
Yeah. Oh, now I remember what I was saying. We were talking about Cap getting stabbed a couple of times, and
oh my gosh, 3.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's what I think. I think that in the original story, after that fight, after Moff Gideon stabs him in the shoulder and the gut, right, and
Moff Gideon. He's talking about Giancarlo Esposito, who's the guy who he plays.
Like I can pronounce that name. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Well, because everyone used to say Esposito, but I heard him in an interview say his name is Esposito, and I was like, right on, because he's I think he's either Cuban or Dominican. So
and the amazing thing is, like a couple of years ago, he was homeless, and so I mean, like he is an insane rags to riches story. You should look him up. It's crazy, because he was, and think about it. Have you seen
Sidewinder? His name is Sidewinder.
Yeah, thank you. So, but yeah, think about it. Did you see him in anything before Mandalorian? The answer is no. Because
no, he was in Breaking Bad. He was one of the villains in Breaking Bad.
But you know what I'm saying?
That's really for me where he got his. That's where I saw him when he got his start.
But when was Breaking Bad? That was.
Oh gosh, that was in the early to mid 2000s. I thought.
2008 was Breaking Bad. So yeah, and that was actually
Robert, I think that was a. Go ahead. You finish. Sir, I'm interrupting you.
So if I remember correctly, and because I saw him talk about it in an interview once, but it's been a while, is that basically he was homeless, and one of the producers of Breaking Bad saw him and like, oh, I want you in our show. And that's how he went from being homeless to now he's like in everything.
And he has such gravitas and weight.
Yeah. And he's great at playing a bad guy. That's the thing.
So good.
But anyway, so after that fight, I think in the original story, Steve was probably hospitalized for some time, and there was probably a part of this movie where Sam was healing from his injuries, and had to get back into it, and maybe get the inspirational moment from somebody that you need to pick the shield back up or something, and then get back into it. But then they did the rewrite, and they didn't have time for all that, for pacing and stuff. So instead, they retconned in through dialogue that he was wearing basically body armor.
Yeah, his clothing is a Kevlar mesh, and it's one of the perks of being of the job. Right. And I'm like, oh, that really?
Because when you see that axe hit him in the gut, that ain't no,
right here where his kid and his blood and everything, man. And
right. So I think that was a retcon they did in order to get rid of the recovering phase for him.
Yeah, totally.
Because I could totally buy him surviving the attack, but yeah, he obviously wouldn't have been like fighting the next day.
Real.
And the funny thing is, and the only reason I say that is because keep in mind he had like a gauze and everything on his shoulder from the stab.
Victor points out the movie did have a lot of ADR.
There was some obvious ADR. I pointed that out to Mr. Know-It-All when we first talked. There's like one scene in particular at the beginning of the movie when Cap is with dwarf lady. What's her name again?
Sabra, dwarf lady.
And
she's just at the top. She's just.
Or no, it wasn't dwarf lady. It was Black Inside Girl. I can't remember what her name was.
No, totally.
But they were walking across the room, and this was when she was saying, "Oh, the president wants to see you," and he's like, "What's this all about?" And when they show that scene, it's showing them from a distance. Look at Sam's mouth; it ain't moving, and there he's having a whole conversation while his lips are sealed. So either he's a great ventriloquist or that's total ADR. Which is fine. I get that. That's what that's why they do ADR.
Or as Victor points out, she was a gelfling.
Yeah.
She jokingly. she could have totally played a live action Gelfling.
Yeah, she could have.
She has a very aquiline feature.
But I hope I hope she's not a one-off. I hope we see her again.
That's what Ms. Nodal said. We want to see her again. She's a fun
Yeah.
character. I think she can, especially because it's funny. Everybody wants to joke, oh, you copy whatever. It shows that there's so much, like, we haven't lost all the things that made Black Widow so much fun and so amazing, which is that style, the personality. Clearly, that's a part of what came out of the Red Room.
Right.
Anyways,
and like I could definitely see her making an appearance in Thunderbolts.
Sure.
Because since she's obviously like head of the Secret Service detachment there at Washington D.C., it would make sense for her to be there when the Thunderbolts, who are a government agency, she could definitely be there at least in a couple of scenes. I mean, she doesn't have to be in the front line of things, but because she's not superpowered in any way.
Sure. In spite of all the
ADR,
Victor points out, in spite of all the ADR, they did a really good job spackling together the reshoots. I agree. Only one moment really stood out for me, and that was at the very end when Sam Cap is giving his speech to Red Hulk, trying to get him to power down.
He's getting real low.
But when he's talking to him, it looks clearly like they lit him different. It's the same problem they had with Yelena at the end of Black Widow when she has to blow up that engine, and clearly that was a reshoot that was unbelievably bad. Mm-hmm. So the lighting was different and everything, and I was like,
and that was let me point something out. The creep. Look, you have to understand, movie Kevlar is like deflector shields.
Totally.
Okay. Movie Kevlar is magical.
I'm bruised. I got a bruise here on my side because he's like, really.
And so the fact, because when you look at it's just a thin black fabric. It's not like, if you've ever seen an actual it's not bulletproof, a bullet resistant vest like the police wear. That stuff is thick, heavy, and not that flexible.
Victor asked the question, how can they explain naming superhero group after the shamed president? I think that's probably why we have the asterisks. I think we're going to learn that.
Right. I think it's because, remember, they even show in the trailer, it's, oh gosh, I can't.
Thunderbolts is after Yelena's childhood like softball team or something when she was in America.
No, I think
something along those lines. It's something stupid like that.
I think Red Guardian wants to call it the Thunderbolts because he's a big fan of Thaddeus Ross.
Oh my God, really? I can't even I haven't thought about that. That's crazy.
Because he's the only one we can call us the Thunderbolts, and maybe in honor, like they could see, like, hey, the president stepped down with a great guy. Let's name us. And that's why, like, especially, like, think about it. Now that we know Bucky is in politics, when Bucky's like, we can't use that name, right? What's Bucky think? He's thinking of the political ramifications.
Absolutely. Robert asked, Salty Tracker, will future wars be fought with Tesla robots, though? So this question's relevant because, again, it is absolutely Open Mic Saturday. I think so.
Oh, you mean future wars in the real world or in Marvel?
No, real world. Right? No kidding. In the real world.
Well, the problem is that Tesla robots then will end up like walking in the wrong direction and into walls and, maybe running over kids every now and then. So probably not a good idea.
Agreed. I absolutely agree with that.
That was obviously a slight about the Tesla autopilot problems. But no, I hope not. Because look, in a world, don't get me wrong. Can you make all the arguments about why a robotic soldier would be superior, and you'd be 100% right, and you'd also be 100% setting up the Terminator?
Stanley asked, do we really need humanoid robots? I don't know. Ask Boston Dynamics. Do we really need, tell those idiots, stop it.
What about Asmo, the Honda robot, right?
Oh, dude.
That thing, that was like from 2001,
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, there's a new line of Honda EVs coming, and it's they use the Asmo AI system for the infotainment.
Oh Lord, stop it!
But yeah, so I do not want to see. I don't want to see independent robotic drones. I do not want to see.
The words independent should never be.
Right. Autonomous.
Victor asks, why don't we make robots out of felt? That would make them so much easier to defeat when an army of them go rogue.
Right. But see, that's the problem. If it's the minute you make an army And that's what I'm like. And this makes me a little nervous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I could very easily see, since Elon Musk is now like the president's right hand man.
Oh.
Man, tell me this doesn't sound like a movie here.
Stanley said the humanoid robots are so they can use all the infrastructure we've already built for humans.
Yes.
That's smart. It's funny.
Oh, I'm not saying there's a million
I
smart.
hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, there's a million smart reasons to use robots and even humanoid robots. But think about it. Tell me this doesn't sound like a movie to you.
It's
Eccentric
terrible.
billionaire businessman who's developing robots becomes best friends with the president of the United States. Talks
Hold
him
on.
talks him
Are you talking
into
about George Soros?
yeah.
My point is, billionaires have been getting involved where they shouldn't for a long
I know.
time.
No, I'm not. This is not an indictment of Trump. I'm just saying.
No. I understand.
But so he becomes
crazy billionaires.
Becomes best friend with the president, convinces the president to replace the army with robots because it'll cost less money. Plus, it'll make him even more billions, but it'll cost less money. Robots are tougher, more efficient. Humanoid robots can use human infrastructure, like you just pointed out. All these great reasons to replace the United States Army with robots made by Tesla, and then evil billionaire turns out to be evil and decides to take over the country with his army of robots.
That sounds legit. Also, watch Ex Machina if you really want to know. Same idea.
Yeah.
A billionaire who goes off and does his own thing. And
Billionaires should not be making robots. I'm sorry. Look, I don't mind Teslas. I won't own one, but only because. And this has nothing to do with Elon Musk. The company Tesla has a philosophical difference with me. They want to put me out of business, and so I will not support.
Oh,
that.
that's right. That's right. Because they want to.
I won't support a company that is actively trying to take my job.
Hold on, that's not true. They're actively trying to replace the driver. You go buy yourself, and you can buy it.
Oh, shut up! That is
buy you a Tesla taxi and let it go.
I can't. You know what? And they're going to and you think the Tesla cab, especially since the Tesla cab or RoboCab or whatever it's called, cyber cab, is it's going to be a money making proposition, which means they ain't going to be cheap.
Victor says Skynet. I mean, Starlink is live.
Exactly. See, he's got a satellite network. He's got autonomous cars. He's got robots. Can nobody see that this is a supervillain in the making here?
I'm like, and you're just going, man. And they just keep on. They're like, look, he sends rockets up. I'm like, how many satellites do we need? Yeah. Stop it. So
he's taking over Mars.
Daniel points out, as long as I don't have to see girl robots from Mars, and he does three little, it looks like boob emojis.
Yeah, I remember
from Star Trek 5.
Total Recall.
Oh, Total Recall. Yeah, Total Recall.
So, so he is. I mean, I'm sorry. I always thought Elon Musk was kind of a James Bond villain, but now, no, he's graduated to straight up supervillain now.
For real.
He's got an army of robots. Autonomous cars, a satellite network, and is trying to populate Mars. He is a supervillain.
He's the giant, like, laser arm that's very stereotypical, like Marvin the Martian. But it's Elon Musk. We will destroy the Earth. You're like, wait a minute.
The Tesla converter. Someone has stolen the Tesla converter. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, back to the movie. So hold on. So here's this entire setup that they give us about Celestial Island. The leader is clearly organizing all kinds of like stuff to go down. The problem is the leader in the comics may have inspired characters and villains. We've seen that story is the problem. We've seen the story of the supercomputer or the super genius who makes things happen. And so it didn't I kept telling Mrs. Know-It-All, my problem with the movie, if there's any problem for me, was that I felt like everything was getting telegraphed. Then I saw a guy post online, it's because they were so forced to show us Red Hulk. And as a result, if they had hidden that, we might have felt more like we were in a mystery figuring something out. But because they could have easily, in my opinion, shown the back of Red Hulk and we would have known it was a thing and had no clue how it becomes. Comic fans would know because it's got Ross in it and whatnot. But your average movie-going fan wouldn't have. So because that reveal happened, I mean, what do you do?
So here's how I would have done it just to be, because the problem is knowing the Red Hulk was going to be in the movie, The second that Ross took a pill, I was like, those pills are going to make him Red Hulk.
Oh, see, and I was thinking those pills are stopping him from becoming Red Hulk, and something's going to happen that he's not going to have them.
Yeah.
But then you're right; it makes more sense the other way. So yeah.
Yeah. But here's how I would have, and I'm not saying anything that Marvel hasn't done.
Mrs. Know-it-all poked her head and she goes, "I thought the same thing."
So I'm not suggesting anything that Marvel has not actually done in the past. Okay.
Agreed.
But a very, very simple fix for this. In the trailers, you have Cap fighting Green Hulk.
That would wow.
And so
okay.
And so that way, people still thought there would have been a big old showdown, but they never would have thought that Ross was going to turn into the Hulk.
Dinner Bells asked, so the leader is basically the best statistician in the MCU. Yes. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Yeah, I wish I could disagree with you and be like, no, that's it.
Yeah, and in fact, he predicts almost everything, and even when like something went not according to his plan, he even said, "Dang, I had an 87% chance that was going to work." So even when someone confronts him late, well, I guess we're spoiling, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, when Cap comes to
Robert, real quick, points out the Red Hulk, the angrier he gets, the hotter he gets. And you know what? I thought he looked rather nice in those jeans. Just saying. What?
Yeah, they didn't play into that, Robert, but they did definitely show that he was generating heat. But that was not a major factor of the Red Hulk. Basically what you see in the trailers is all you see of his heat generation.
Yeah, no, it's true. Red Hulk is bringing a lot of people to this film, lots of people to see this film. I agree.
Right, and I get that, but but I'm saying, like, I think a lot of people would have come to see Falcon fight Green Hulk, because then people would be like, "Whose side are you on?" You know, and what you could have done was, like, in the poster where you have the fist coming down,
right?
You have it so that the fist is green, or like, say the fist is punching through flames. So you can't really see the color of the fist as well, and so you try to hide it.
Trying to really hide, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool.
Yeah. So, but if you hid that fact, you wouldn't have known about the pills. The other thing is, unfortunately, and this is a problem with modern fandom, and something I really hate with the modern fandom, is that people, especially the negative naysayers out there, are constantly looking for things to find out about the movie and then basically say how stupid it sounds, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
So like people say, "Oh, I can't believe they're bringing the leader back," or something like that. And the problem is that now everybody knows the leader is going to be in it. If you didn't know that Stearns was going to be in this movie, how would you have felt when they first showed him?
My problem was I honestly, I would have been more excited if I didn't know.
Yeah.
I feel like having him be and the other thing is, it was weird to constantly have him in the shadows. There were very strange choices that they made from a creative place, hoping to set up a little bit of mystique, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of something, and it just doesn't quite work right.
Right.
Again, I don't hate the movie. I actually had a really, really good time with it, and I am very much of the mind, don't listen to any critic out there who says they absolutely hate it, or any critic like us who says we absolutely loved it. You go see it. See it yourselves. Come up with your own opinions. And I'm telling you, I feel like you may find that, hey, I found something I did like, or I found some whatever. Go in maybe with low expectations, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. I wasn't super like diehard, like it's gonna be the best or it's gonna suck. So I don't know. What's up, Aravic?
Hey, Aravic, how you doing? So yeah, I think that yes, does this leader look different? Yeah, but I was fine with it, except that you were talking about the way they lit it, and we talked about this a little bit the other day, is there's only one scene in the entire movie, and that's when the leader turns himself in at the end and they tackle him. That's the only time you see the top of his head, and you realize that all the pustules all over his head are forming a giant brain. Up until that point, he just looks like a guy with a really bad skin condition.
That's true.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, like they should have exploited. Like, in fact, I think the first thing we should have seen of him was a top-down shot, just looking at his head.
That's super smart. Look at you.
And
You got
so,
the makings of a director, sir.
because yeah, from the top, he looked like one of the Triskelion brain creatures.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And so I think that would have been a lot more effective if we got to see the right off the bat. No, this is a giant brain here.
But even what's funny is I would have preferred a green skin Triskelion guy, like of that look they did. I would have loved that. Loved it. I thought it would have been a really good representation. There's right now floating new concept art for an early version before what's his name before Kevin Feige came in and changed some things that had him in like a brown jacket, a nice looking supervillainy shirt, and his head with hair and everything, but like big, almost, but a little flat like Frankenstein-y. And I remember I was like, okay, I get it.
All right, best comment of the day right here.
Sorry, go ahead. Were we doing something? Go ahead, put it on. Right on. All the wins. Points.
I will not confirm or deny that statement, but yes, you're right.
Creep says, I'm surprised the popcorn meter is 82% when all I've heard has been negative. No,
well, okay, so let me
critics are being negative because critics.
Well, here's the funny thing.
A critic, I don't know.
So, and I do think this is interesting because number one, notice how, like, if you go watch the reviews by some of these guys like Critical Drinker, and I don't know if Nerdrotic's done a review. I'm sure he probably has batched it in some way, but you look at these guys' reviews and you know what they're not going to talk about? They're not going to talk about that popcorn meter. Instead, they're going to just say, "Oh, it's."
Why do you think I have it right down there? I want to make sure everybody.
They're going to say they might point out the 52% on the tomato meter, and they're going to talk about how much it sucks and how horrible it is. But you know what they also do? Whenever you see something that has a high critic score and a low audience score, man, do they point that out. They're all over it about how, the system is rigged, blah, blah, blah. But what this really tells you, if you look at that tomato meter, what this is telling you is that people who are paid to give their opinion on movies are saying bad things. What does that tell you?
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, it's a good fun. I'm like, right on, bro. I could totally. I think
if Nerdrotic said that, I would not be surprised, and that I think is totally offensive, because even though it's like they may, first of all, and Nerdrotic, of course.
Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm trying to keep us on task. You're right. You're absolutely right. By the way, about what I know exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah, Sinestro. He does look a lot like Sinestro in the comics. That's
green face. But yeah, he's got that like tall, pointy.
Yeah,
and it's very Sinestro-y. That's a great call. Oh my god, it would have been great to get Steve. What's his name? Strong.
Mark Strong.
Get him because he can't be Sinestro anymore. So it's like,
but he can't be the leader because this guy was the leader 20 years ago, so we can't recast him now.
True story.
We've never recasted anybody, especially from that movie, considering there are two characters from that movie that have been recasted.
Betty Ross is in there. I love that and they have Liv Tyler, which, by the way, I don't know if it's a good use or not of that cameo. I know that she had a phone call.
I think it would have been better. I think it would have been better if they hadn't mentioned Betty 75 times throughout the movie.
Well, they were trying to give Ross a reason why he's trying to. I think they were trying to justify the personality difference between William Hurt and Harrison Ford.
I get that, but and I know, like, one of the big things, if there's any mystery to this movie, and unfortunately again spoiled by the trailers with Red Hulk, is the question: is Ross good or bad? That's really the biggest mystery of this movie, because we've only seen Ross as a total naysayer throughout the. Get it? See what I did there? With naysayer, because naysayer is the politically correct term. Anyway, so Ross has always been a naysayer.
I love that.
He's always, and he's one of those characters you love to hate. And even though two other people have played him in the past, keep in mind he's already been recast once.
Yeah, no, for sure. Victor so was I, by the way. Victor said he thought she was going to show up in the garden and talk Red Hulk.
I was kind of expecting that too.
Same. I would have thought the minute it went down, she would be beelining it because she's the one who has talked Bruce down before.
Right.
So in her mind, she could have been the one to walk out there and be like, whoa, hold on.
See, and again, okay, here comes the salty rewrite of that scene a little bit.
Go for it.
I think that having Falcon go down in the Indian Sea was fine. I think they played up his injuries too much.
I wasn't sure if they were parallel. I felt like they were paralleling. Remember
Like Rhodey?
Sam's original? No, remember Sam's original story to Steve about
Oh,
why
where
he
he's because his wing got ripped off.
right, where he lost his wingman or whatever. And I was like, oh, and now he's like, oh my god, my wingman. And they're like, we're going to rescue him. It's okay.
Yeah. And Stan, yes. Well, I'll talk about Harrison Ford in just a minute, but let me finish this thought. So instead of having him like injured and on the brink of death because nobody thought he was going to die, right? You didn't think he was going to die, did you? Yeah, nobody thought he was going to die. So instead, yeah, you have him go down, but then afterwards you find out he's fine, and you could even have a scene where he's bitching about the fact that he still doesn't have a Wakandan flight suit because they pulled out a spare regular Falcon suit for him, and awesome. Which would that would be so in character for him, right? So then Red Hulk starts, right? And when Red Hulk starts, Cap and Falcon are getting ready to go, and then Cap says, "Hold on, Falcon," or you would call him by his name, but I can't remember his name. But he goes, "Hold on, I got something for you," and he's like, "But Cap, we gotta you listen to me, listen to who I am." This is what you got to do. And then you cut back to Red Hulk and blah, 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 blah. And then Cap shows up. We get fight. And then Falcon flies in with Betty.
Oh, see? So smart. That would have been dope.
And so that I think would have been
Feige, free help, buddy.
Yeah.
Heck, just give us a little bit. Invite us out to the premieres.
That's the funny thing. Like
give us some street cred. I'll be a shill. I'm down to shill.
Listen, I don't care if it's Kevin Feige, if it's Alex Kurtzman, if it's Kathleen Kennedy. Look, we will work for any of you.
Absolutely will. Mm. I will happily start singing the praises of the Acolyte. Mm. I have no shame.
I don't know if I can go that far. But...
No, it's like, I don't know, man. She-Hulk, big winner. Let's go.
I actually liked She-Hulk, but I didn't love it, but I did like it.
Oh, my God. Victor's dead right. Ford was the best part of the movie.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So
okay, go. He didn't feel like Ross. He was President Harrison Ford. And my wife and I said on the review yesterday, how many times have we seen Harrison Ford play a president? This was that guy.
I still think he was playing Ross. Even though I get what you're saying, and that's because Ford has a certain presence because he's Harrison Ford, right? Sure. Most people in this generation have grown up with Harrison Ford, right?
Sure. Yeah. Being this kind of a gruff guy.
Yeah, and now he's incredibly grizzled, right? That's like,
very. I swear, he's on his verge to being what's his name, Sam Elliott.
Clint Eastwood. He's
not Sam Elliott. What's his name? Yeah, Sam Elliott. Yeah, he's on his verge to being that guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing westerns.
Yeah.
I mean.
So here's my thing with Harrison Ford. I think Harrison Ford is a good actor, but I think that I don't know if this is a choice of his agents, or just the people that are looking to hire him, but everybody wants him to play an action hero. He is too damn old. Okay, the man is 82 years old. I do not want to see another Indiana Jones movie. I didn't watch the last one because it looked so laughably bad. I did watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I was like, no, I'm done. Right? I thought he was horrible as Han Solo in The Force Awakens. He was the worst part of that movie. Yes, I said it.
Even when he said, Chewie, we're home. Come on.
Yeah, because he's not supposed to be Chewie, we're home.
It hit all the feels.
Shut up.
It did. When he did it, I was one of the people in the theater going, ah! So...
I could see that. But anyway, so I don't want him trying to play a younger man than he is.
Right. You know when he's really good in that movie right now, in that Shrink, that TV show where he gets to be a cranky shrink who sort of says what he wants, but also he's got a good head on his shoulders. I love seeing him.
I haven't seen that show, but what I'll say here is that he is great as President Ross. I loved him in this movie. I believed him, even when he punched the one dude, I was like, okay, he had one punch in him. That's all he had. You know, he was not going to go toe to toe with anybody, but he could catch you by surprise and knock you down.
Agreed. You know? Robert asks, will the new Fantastic Four movie finally become the fan favorite over the Roger Corman one, though? I watched a video yesterday about the Roger Corman one, and fans still prefer it over other ones.
I think that's unfair to the Tim Story movies, to be honest. I don't love, but I like the Tim Story movies.
I thought the Tim Story ones were very surface. In a world where we were not drowning in comic book movies at the time, those movies hit a spot. I think they served a purpose compared to the X-Men universe that at the time was getting started and scrapping. And
they were way better than the X-Men.
They were trying very hard to be as comic close as we had ever gotten, and I was down. Live action prosthetic thing. Michael Chiklis is doing amazing work.
Yeah, and he's
Jessica Alba is Jessica Alba, and yeah.
But Jessica Alba is Jessica Alba, but she's not Sue Richards. That
really not.
Yeah,
and then
I was supposed to buy that she's Chris Evans' sister.
Chris
really?
Evans?
Did they have two different moms? Come on.
Chris Evans, I thought was brilliant. He did a really good job.
Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis were the heart and soul of that movie, and they were both great. And there is nothing I want more. I am telling Feige, listen to me, okay? I know
Friend
you
of the show.
But Feige, hear me out, buddy. In Secret Wars, we've got to get Chiklis and Evans together as a thing in the Human Torch. Now, if you could get Johan, or however you say his name, as Reed, because I will tell you right now, he looks like Reed Richards. Right? Have you seen him recently? He looks exactly like Reed.
He literally has the gray hair on the side.
Exactly.
Yoan Grufford looks dead. You're like, bro. I would love to see him not play nervous nerdy, but play narcissist nerdy, like narcissist scientist Reed, and just be another universe version. Don't be the version from those movies, but be. He could have been such a great. He could have been a really good. Give him a second shot at the apple, man.
And the thing is, like for future movies, and even though this isn't my favorite multiverse thing that Marvel's ever done, still, if you bring him as well as what's his name, Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, you get him, Pedro Pascal, you get Kazansky, and you get the dude from Four Stick, right? And then you duplicate them all a few times, and you have the Council of Reeds.
Absolutely, and that's literally what Victor was just saying.
Yeah,
real fast. There's been a side conversation going on about the show Shrink, and one of the things I love is because again it's open mic Saturday. Stanley points out, of course, the show wants you to be concerned about the problems of a bunch of affluent people living in beautiful homes in Pasadena. Here's the thing: this is the reason why a show like Studio 60, which was focused on the back workings of a live action comedy improv show, didn't work, whereas 30 Rock did. This show wanted to show you stuff like that we don't care about. Like, I don't care about the legal problems of actors. It's like this. You're absolutely right. You can't make me care about rich yuppie people while I'm sitting here worried about every real life stuff.
Yeah, how am I going to pay the bills?
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, but good call, sir. Very good call.
But yeah, and
Creep says I like Ford, but he's way old. Obviously, they don't have much of a future plan with Red Hulk. Dang.
Well, you see, and that's one of my.
They didn't kill him.
Yeah. And by the way, look at that picture above us. That is a freaking awesome. I love what Red Hulk looked like, right?
Yeah, he did a good job.
Because they really did a good job putting Harrison Ford's face onto a Hulk. However, yes, Harrison Ford is 82 years old. And so if they're going to put him in a couple of movies, they better be filming him right now. Because he, at his age, he could die tomorrow, and it would not be a shock.
That's awesome.
I love him, but let's be real here. It's just like, look, I will tell you that I will come online and I will cry on camera the day William Shatner dies. Okay,
bro. I will cry. My father will cry on camera the day William Shatner passes.
Right, and so, but that being said, the man is 92. I will not be shocked.
No, but I'm more shocked.
Like if we got the news right now that he's dead, I would cry, but I would not be shocked.
No,
I will mourn, but I will not, be like, oh, it's a tragedy, which is what everybody likes to say.
He's
when somebody
taken
dies.
too soon. You're like, really? How much sooner did he need to be taken with? No, for real.
The funny thing is that he's 10 years older than Harrison Ford.
That's hilarious.
And Harrison Ford looks older than Patrick Stewart. And Patrick Stewart is granted about Harrison Ford's age, but at the same time, he looks like he's about 350 years old.
Yeah.
It looks like you know what Patrick Stewart. I don't. Pat, if they talk, I don't care if they offer you $1 billion. Do not do a Picard season 4. All right, I'm done with that role.
No, but I would love to see. I would love it if they did some similar stuff to what they did in TNG. Have maybe somebody in Starfleet Academy in the future one have to like reference something and bring up a hologram of an old and have him have a brief conversation. I think those kind of things, if their actor's still alive, that's kind of fun.
Here's the funny thing, because Starfleet Academy is in the 32nd century, right? So you bring up you go, computer, create a hologram of Jean-Luc Picard as if he was still alive today.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Patrick Stewart looked 80 in TNG. Funny enough, I thought that too when I was younger and saw it originally.
I thought he was like 60.
Until I've seen it now compared to Picard, and
he
show
much
footage. Well, that's like in Discovery when they briefly showed that race, and you're like, look how young dude is. He may have the bald head, and everyone thought he was older looking. It's smooth here. Like he's just an older statesman type guy.
And he didn't look like right now. It looks like somebody took a suction hose and stuck it in the back of his neck and just drained everything from under his skin.
You're a bad person. You are a bad person.
Why? Because I'm being accurate?
Victor says William Shatner's voice is still exactly the same. Stewart and Ford have quavery voices now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's what I said. You didn't know me.
Shatner sounds like when people used to do impressions of him. Now.
Yeah, that is true. Shatner sounds like an impersonation of Shatner, but he doesn't sound like a 90-year-old impersonation.
No, he doesn't sound like no, for real, he doesn't.
No, but I said this, and I didn't know you at the time, but years ago when Picard first premiered, I said every single line Patrick Stewart said, it sounded like he was gasping for his last breath.
Especially when he tried to like do that thing that he used to do when he would suddenly put on a commanding voice, and you're like, it's not the same. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, the please, Patrick Stewart, buddy, retire.
For real.
Let Picard die with dignity. Well, that's a little too late for that, but just let him die.
Well, now he's apparently a robot who will age.
Well, but it looked like they were propping up a corpse for all 3 seasons. I mean, come on.
They did. That's what they stole.
Yeah.
That's what they stole the corpse from that one Daystrom Institute.
Okay, Daniel, you are no longer allowed to be on this channel ever.
Salty's banning people. Stop it.
Yeah.
Let Picard die with dignity again. That's what Victor said. God, Victor, I'm gonna get a T-shirt made. Victor DiGiorno is one of my favorites. Dude.
People are gonna be like,
I literally just called you Victor DiGiorno, by the way. Victor DiGiovanni. Victor DiGiorno.
Wow, DiGiorno, huh?
Oh, no.
Heir to the DiGiorno fortune?
Yes, that's right. Friend of the show, Victor DiGiorno.
They need to have a NerdFights DiGiorno pizza. Like
we totally brought to you by.
Yeah, you design one half, I design the other.
He said he'll add that to his. Data's died so many times. Victor said he'll add that to his.
Well, shoot, Brent Spiner's paid what 73 characters now on Star Trek
versions,
and they're all related to the same guy. I'm so done. As soon just clones of himself, because there's no way that everybody in his family tree looked exactly the same.
Agreed.
Like
they got some hellified genes in that family. You want to go? Why has your family been cloning each other? Because literally, that's all you've been doing. You've been cloning each other. There's no way in life you haven't been cloning. That family should be guilty of cloning.
Well, it's like every generation. This is my wife's sister.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Which, of course, that means that by the time we get to the TNG area, he should look like the leader.
That's funny. You gotta stop. Oh my gosh. I tell you what, this has been. So again, what are some of our the ultimate resolution of the whole thing? Ross goes to jail. Getting back to this for a brief second. Ross goes to jail, but not to like jail him as much as while they figure out how to get him to stop changing while they're dealing with this situation. And he voluntarily. What did you say? It's good to see a politician take full responsibility for his stuff.
I said that's what I'm looking for
breaking the law.
here.
The text, you sent it to me. was great. It was really good.
Okay, yeah.
Literally-
I said so. I literally texted this while the credits were rolling at the movie theater. I said, so waiting for the post-credit scene. Overall, I liked it, but the most unrealistic thing ever in the history of film that the president would accept responsibility for the laws he broke. And that's why I wanted to point out, no, he did not. He was not just, as far as I understood, he wasn't just sitting in jail passively while they tried to figure out to fix the Red Hulk. He was in jail because he illegally was keeping the leader imprisoned with a false promise of a future release.
Agreed.
And
my God,
so
what if they're doing the same thing to him?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. We'll let you go if we figure out a way to cure the Red Hulk. Guys, don't cure the Red Hulk.
No, don't for sure.
Yeah, we need the Red Hulk back. I want to see the Red Hulk fight. You know what I could see? And again, who knows with the way they do trailers at Marvel. But what if Red Guardian's little outburst about we should be the Thunderbolts? What if that's because they reach out to what's her name from Seinfeld and get her?
Hold on. Did you just say what's her name from Seinfeld?
Yeah. Sorry, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I can
Valentina. Yeah, Mrs. Know-It-All remembered that. I didn't.
Yeah, Miss
She
DiGiorno.
totally wins. She's Miss DiGiorno. Victor's wife. Yeah, totally Victor's wife. Valentina.
She's Victoria DiGiorno.
Valentina Di Giovanni DiGiorno. Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, but honestly, what if they, okay, so Bucky's on the team, right? Bucky,
I think he's organizing the team.
Right, but what he's involved.
No, for sure.
And he's obviously got connections all throughout Washington.
Yeah,
because he's a senator,
he's running for Congress as a congressman.
Yeah, so he reaches out to Valentina or to other people, and in fact, this could be an excuse to bring in the Lollipop Guild. What's her name? I can't remember her name, but you know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Sabra again?
Yeah,
the Lollipop Guild.
So
that's right.
He calls her.
Where's Darren when I need him so he can point out the hypocrisy?
Because I'm doing it in the spirit of fun.
Totally.
As opposed to a spirit of hate. But anyway, so he calls her up and then says, I need a favor. And then next thing you know, they're literally pushing Harrison Ford out of the back of an airplane and crashes on the ground, becomes Red Hulk to fight Sentry.
Shut up. I hate you so much.
And that's what
do that. I'm done.
So Red Hulk jumps, and we saw Red Hulk do his full leap, which was actually pretty badass. But we saw Red Hulk do a full Hulk leap in this movie, a couple of them. But so he does the Hulk leap into Sentry and punches Sentry, and Sentry goes back. And then as the fight begins, Red Guardian says, "We should call ourselves the Thunderbolts."
And dude's like, no, that's a problematic name. That's not good. We can't do that.
Well, that's what Bucky says, yeah.
No, I know. It's what Bucky says, and I'm like, I get it.
And then I even like what John Walker's like, thank you. That was like... although I don't like the fact that in that trailer, while I do like that last trailer they put out, I thought it was a lot of fun, but I don't, they did a Jean Grey on us, and I don't like that. Because we see Red Guardian, and then it says John Walker. No, he's U.S. agent. He is not John Walker.
And I'm like, why wouldn't you guys use their code names and really get that branding and marketing out there?
Right. And so, but yeah, not calling him U.S. agent, because the thing is, if you call him U.S. agent, then people that aren't in the know are going to be like, oh, who's U.S. agent? And then their friends that are nerds can say, oh, U.S. agent is like the evil Captain America, and that kind of sets things up so that they know kind of what to expect. To say John Walker, then they're just like, huh? All right, whatever.
Victor says he may not be U.S. agent anymore.
Well, no, but he's still wearing the exact same uniform he wore at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
And yes, by the way, me no other. Critics have really panned this movie for some reason. The reasons they all give to me don't make sense. They're like, the story is weird, this and that. I actually thought the story flowed fine.
The reason is simple.
Fine. It was functional.
No, I get the critics. The reason for the critics is simple. It's called clickbait. I mean, and think about it. And this
if
is,
they're
by
all
the way,
doing that, then are we the clickbait because we're not doing that?
no, because we're trying to genuinely inform people.
Got
We're
it.
giving, and here's the difference. If we didn't like this movie, we would
Right.
say we didn't like this movie.
Agreed.
Okay.
Absolutely agreed.
And so, no, we are not clickbait, even though, yes, we want to get clicks, but there's a difference. There's clickbait to me is when somebody is being dishonest in order to get people to tune in or click or whatever. But, which I would never do, and I hope you wouldn't either. If you do, then
We're
you're
not
off the
clickbait.
team.
As Victor points out, you're regular bait.
Yeah, we're just regular bait. Hey, ladies. Yeah, but you should do, for our first merch, you should do like a sexy calendar that's just pictures of you and me, like wearing thongs, and yeah, it's
Regular bait. It's like not even clickbait. I love
regular bait the calendar.
Right.
But anyway, but yeah, these people, and
Dang, Stan. Apparently, I was the only good review Stan has seen.
well, I haven't put one out yet, so that's fair.
Books online. It's funny. The algorithm. Once I put my positive review out, the algorithm has brought me a lot more positive people who are.
Right. But this is a real problem as far as the aggregate sites like Rotten Tomatoes. And don't get me wrong, despite what people say, I don't hate Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, and same thing, by the way, with Criticless. As much as I like the guy that runs Criticless, I get what he's going for there, but I disagree with him about how insanely biased Rotten Tomatoes is. But whatever, that's just a difference of opinion. But is that these are all people? Okay, so especially Rotten Tomatoes now takes YouTubers and includes them in the tomato meter. What is this Star Trek movie we're talking about? It's called Captain America.
No, I like the beginning part. I am informed. I'm very informed.
Yeah.
What Star Trek movie is this? I was like, right on, bro. You fit light it here, okay?
Yeah, but so they're including YouTubers in their tomato meter, and I don't think that's appropriate because
Why?
I look. I know it's going to sound terrible and elitist and everything, but hey, I'm not.
I'm a fan of credentials, is what I'm hearing from you.
Yes. To be considered a movie critic, you should.
You absolutely have to. Yeah, you used to have to.
You should be a movie critic.
So okay, it isn't that they're allowing YouTubers; it's that they have now begun to consider YouTube a viable outlet. So part of the because I've actually applied, but I didn't have a big enough audience, and I had no outlet at the time.
But
at the time,
okay, look, if Roger Ebert had a YouTube channel when he was still alive, and they wanted to include that, I would have no problem. But Jeremy Johns, nice guy, has never, has not gone to film school. He doesn't know, he's not an expert in this stuff. He's a movie nerd. And I'm not saying that he's not a movie nerd. He clearly loves this stuff. But, and same thing with a lot of these personalities you see on YouTube. They're people that are just spouting their opinion. They're not criticizing the movie in the proper sense.
Agreed. No, I agree, and I feel like and that. By the way, I do have a proper critique of video coming out like I normally do, where I'm sitting literally in the same space and I'm going to go through the things that work and don't work. But the video I did do with Mrs. Know-It-All was much more about just kind of we're fanning out, geeking out, so to speak.
Right.
So, yeah.
But if you are a movie critic, I should be able to name any movie you've seen, and you should be able to name at least 10 good things about that movie and at least 10 bad things about that movie. If you are an actual movie critic, you should be able to do that. Any movie, even a crap movie, there are good things you can say. But
Agreed.
You have to be able to fairly criticize the film, and just to sit there and say, this sucks, this isn't great Marvel, this is bad Marvel. That's not criticizing the movie.
No, it isn't. It really isn't. Well, that's like a lot of people said before. When you go on, we just did it with Critical Drinker. If you're sitting here and out the gate, for instance, you know what? I'll go back to your example with J.J. Abrams. If you're sitting here making fun of his name, Jar Jar Abrams, before you even get to talking about the thing he's done,
right.
How am I supposed to take any kind of validity? Oh, clearly, unless of course, and again, there's a big money to be made out there if you want to just hate on stuff. Trust me, a lot of people want to get in their rage on and their hate on for things. And here's the thing. To me, Acolyte was objectively bad from a critique standpoint.
Right.
We literally were able to pile all the stuff from a technical aspect. I couldn't even get to any of the Star Wars stuff, much like when it comes to as a Studio 60. When it comes to Section 31, I couldn't even get to the Star Trek isms of it all because it was just bad writing, bad dialogue, bad everything. And so then, so obviously, it's hard to. That to me is the difference between a critic and the guys who are on YouTube.
Right. And
There's a couple of guys
the thing is
on
that the
YouTube.
guys on YouTube are now being counted as critics.
Again, it's because you have when YouTube is getting numbers that rival the old style TV networks.
Oh, I get that, but
you have to start looking at something.
But being popular doesn't make it well done. It doesn't make it good, and it certainly doesn't make it credentialed. And being unpopular doesn't mean it sucks. Look at this show.
I feel like Victor's right. I'm a random dude on the internet, and I feel like my movie opinion is just as valid as any paid critic.
Yeah,
right on.
And the problem is then you have and again I'm
going and then he says I like Mr. Know-It-All's opinions and find them valid and informed. His opinions just as solid as any movie critic. Love you, Victor. All right.
What about me, Victor?
Yeah, you're okay. No, man. If we're doing just based on content, I'm still working through the archives. You definitely get critic status because you've given some very, very informed and very detailed descriptions. The reason why I'm here, man, I'm here not just because you're shining personality and you're an amazing partner to talk to, but the truth is you actually have very informed thought process, and I like that.
So yeah, and here's another problem that I see with this current trend.
Victor says. You're
fine.
I love you, Victor. Okay. He's like, I don't know, triple something.
I don't know what to say about that.
That's all right. You don't know what to say.
On the other side of the spectrum, beside you, so you have people like Jeremy Johns that are just spouting their opinion.
Sure.
You have people like Critical Drinker that are just there to entertain. And
although, hold on. Critical Drinker now, in my opinion, he immediately is allowed to have some opinion. The guy literally has had a movie made. Whether good or bad.
Yeah, it was such a great movie, too.
No. But good, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of horrible movies out there on Amazon and on Amazon, which, by the way, I could put a movie right now on Amazon. That's how much it's not that great involved. But I wrote 2 pilots. I had a script on the desk of Warner Brothers, which I don't ever let anybody forget. At the end of the day, I firmly do believe I get to come from a place of expertise when it comes as an insider. That's where I come from. But at the same time, the reason I even have the name Mr. Know-It-All is because I still have some active NDAs out there. So you get to have some level of, hey, I know a little bit of how the sausage is made.
Well, I get that, but you know what I don't like is that and I've had this happen so many times. And Critical Drinker, again, very entertaining channel.
I think Stanley says it best if you want with what you've been trying to say.
Yeah, it should be being treated very seriously, but it's clearly not.
But I'm not, and follows unbiased rules. I agree.
But, with Critical Drinker, like he put out something I can't remember, and I just
oh my God, Victor said you're the Captain America Brave New World of online reviewers. Look at you know how to take it. He's like, I think that okay. Wait,
is that good? Is that not good? I mean, I don't know what you thought of Captain America.
That's awesome.
So,
oh my God, me no other. Critical Drinker hates the movie. Yes, we know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. And I hinted at this before. You were talking about how when people can't say the name, they got to make fun of them. Yeah. In Critical Drinker's review, he refers to the main character of this movie as Captain Black Ant Falcon.
Oh, because of the thing is, everyone's doing that, and I'm like, okay.
And it's not. First of all, it's not Ant-Man's helmet. Freaking
no! It's the It's this.
It's a flight helmet.
But it's also Stark technology in terms of he's talking about the fact that it does that disappearing thing.
Right, which Stark invented.
Nanotech folding stuff. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. But and by the way, everybody had one of those helmets in Endgame. So yeah.
Oh my God, everybody.
But throughout the entire review, yeah, he's just Captain Black Ant Falcon is what he would call him. And like the first time he said it, it was funny. But then he kept going on and on and on and wouldn't call him Captain America. And here's what kind of really I am not, but make this perfectly clear. I am not suggesting that Critical Drinker is racist. Okay. Absolutely not. However,
No, I
when
think he likes the things he likes and hates the things he hates, and
right, which is fine. But
there's
when he
very little
says things
delineation.
like the only real Captain America is Steve Rogers, right? If I were one of those people working at Marvel, I would see that as, oh, red flag. We got another racist guy online hating Captain America because he's black. And so that's and especially since he keeps calling him Captain Black Ant, because the first thing he has to say is black. And how many times does Critical Drinker go off about
Hold on, wait. Does that mean
people
he's
who
your
are
black
diverse?
co-host?
Huh?
Am I your black co-host?
Yes.
Wait, no. You're my white co-host.
Who owns the channel?
Oh, it's just I'm on my own channel too. No,
Yeah. Well, who owns this channel? Who owns Nerd?
No, totally.
Okay, but then on the other end of the spectrum, you also have people like, and I'm not saying he's
oh my
unintelligent.
god. Victor goes, Cap is now like the over geared up action figure version of the character now with razor wings and ant helmet and red wings. Yeah, remember how there was always like the original toy? And then they would start bringing out different outfits and different like mods, and you're like, what is happening?
However,
that's awesome.
Now the razor wings kind of threw me off because you know what we never saw him do in this one? Shoot a gun, which he did in every other movie he was in.
Yeah, the whole like when he was flying and shooting the thing. Yeah.
He should have pulled out his machine guns rather than the little razor wings. I get that the razor wings, if they're made out of vibranium, could actually penetrate Hulk's skin, but at the same time, it was like, wait, what happened to his guns? And the razor wings kept making me think of Archangel from the comics.
So especially the way they were shaped.
Yeah.
When the feather things, which obviously that's maybe the most logical way to do razors, but he looked like Archangel, and you're like, oh. And then and I love the fact that it's clearly vibranium, so we're trying to say that's why it's penetrating and cutting. Also, was his blood purple?
I didn't notice.
It was a different color than normal.
It could have been just because of the contrast with the red skin.
Fair enough. So they're like, we got to give him something darker or something.
But yeah, so he was definitely over-teched. But at the same time,
he was definitely over-attacked.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, so then you have critics like John Campea. John Campea, very intelligent, knows the business, but is way too close to a lot of these people to give any kind of unbiased opinion. And I mean, his wife is an executive at a movie company. Okay, he is compromised. He cannot give and I'm not saying that he's a bad guy.
Hold on a second. Are you saying that he is as a result of his being emotionally compromised?
Yes.
He's
due to Starfleet regulations, he needs to step down as a YouTube critic.
That's right. Only I don't even know if Robert Meyer Burnett gets the pass anymore.
No,
like, look,
I don't think he does.
As many times you want to tell us about the Star Trek Next Generation documentary you made, look here.
Yeah, I am so done with and that's what I was starting to say earlier. So I was on a Critical Drinker video, and I was I wasn't being a jerk or anything. I was just saying, hey,
salty. No,
serious. I usually start out without being a jerk.
Got it.
Believe me though, people start throwing it at me, I will throw back. Right? That's kind of my style.
That's fair.
But I put out there something I mildly disagreed with on his review. I think it was one of those things where it's like, wait, you said in this review that the movie,
Did you start calling people out on their actual words?
Yes, I said in this review you
Who
say
does
that. Yeah, I know that the movie was too close to the source material, but in your last review you said that the reason it sucked was because they were too far from the source material. It seems like you're not being consistent here.
As Stanley says, access media. Just
100%. So I start getting comment after comment after comment after comment replying to me, talking about how he's a published author. And so he knows what he's talking about.
By the way, since we had that conversation, I've looked some up. I'm glad he's popular, and I'm glad he's found an audience. Guess what? Louis Latour did too, and his books are garbage. As far as when it comes to Westerns, I tried to read one once. His Critical Drinker's books read like someone's army fan fiction. They
Well,
don't. There's
look at his
not a whole
freaking
lot.
movie.
Like it's not. I see why you got the movie you got. His book is not great. Well, you
Well,
do one better. Look, that's fine. I don't know. Whatever.
you could literally take Critical Drinker's movie and edit together snippets of Critical Drinker reviews to review that movie.
Agreed.
Because like when he talks about how Kathleen Kennedy inserts herself into shows and stuff, and it's like, oh, so you're talking about the American CIA Special Forces team with the dashing British guy that's leading the team, Yeah, I'm sure that's not a self-insert. And he's, by the way, the best of the best of the best for everything that he's ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He's a whatever Michael Sue or what. I don't care what you call it, but
So Creep points out, so no roadie movie anytime soon since Captain America's basically him now.
Unfortunately, Armor Wars
Hold
got
on.
banned.
Captain America's him now because he flies and is a black guy, or Captain America's him now because
he's a token black guy, I think.
That's what I was gonna go. He's MCU token black guy. Got it.
Yeah. He's the black superhero. Although, because you can't count Black Panther anymore because
Oh God, Victor says it's called a Gary Stew.
Oh, Gary Stu, thank you. So that character in that movie of his was a total Gary Stu, and it was clearly a stand-in for him. But the movie was just lame. I mean, it was like
Stanley says it's wannabe Tom Clancy. That's awesome.
Feels more like wannabe Tom and Jerry. It's that bad. It's but yeah, just because, like, look, if I wanted, I could clip together some of the stuff that me and Lore Reloaded made, and put it on Amazon Prime and say I made a movie.
Stanley says I don't think CD's actually been in a special forces military unit. No, but he has watched his fair share of Steven Seagal movies.
Yes.
That immediately qualifies him to write good fan fiction.
Yeah, that's a good call. It was like a Steven Seagal fan film. That's the best way to describe his movie.
It really is. If you cast Steven Seagal, the only way it would have been worse better. You know what I mean? It's
well, at least if you cast Steven Seagal, it would have had the entertainment factor of it being Steven Seagal. So.
Okay, so Creep says he's getting all the good tech, and Rhodey's still flying around in that Mark II suit.
Well, Rhodey did get a new suit in Endgame.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
And unfortunately, I was actually looking forward to Armor Wars. I don't know exactly why he got canned. But I don't think we've seen the last of Rhodey. I'm sure he'll be around in Doomsday and or Secret Wars. And so, yeah, you look fascinated with something.
My wife brought me a package. I don't know what it is. Something's been delivered. I'm like, oh, and a drink. So yay.
So she just brought you a random package with
the
a
show
drink.
Brought to you by Powerade. I'm kidding. Totally not. But hey, Powerade, we would totally take the sponsorship.
We will, yeah, we will absolutely. And Mr. Know-It-All will, in fact, pose nude for your ad campaign.
You need a long lens. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah.
Has this turned into a weird Critical Drinker movie review all of a sudden?
I don't want to talk about
like,
Critical Drinker.
Love the generic action dialogue. You're on point. Flank them. Stuff like that.
Oh, that's the Critical Drinker movie. Yeah. We should do a shot-by-shot review of that movie because
no, only on Patreon. Only on Patreon. I'm down. Victor says Marvel has shown that no character is too forgotten. This movie brought back the leader and Betty Ross. True story. They're willing to bring anybody back home.
I think Betty needed a more of an arc because basically Betty was a prop. She was a MacGuffin for Ross's motivation, and she really didn't do anything but showed up to visit her disheveled dad in prison at the end. So. I would have liked.
It looked weird. She was in the shadowy outside, and it almost looked like they had put some like weird prosthetic, like not de-aging. It wasn't that far, but it definitely she looked a little like blank.
I don't know. I haven't looked at Liv Tyler recently, so I don't know what she looks like nowadays. But I mean, I just would write it up to the fact that she's a whole lot older. From the last. I mean, what was the last thing she was in? I don't even know.
I don't either.
But let's see if I.
Victor says she looked green screen in. Yes, she definitely looked like it looked. Yeah, it looked something was off for sure. It could have very well been the green screen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was. I don't think she was actually on the set. But yeah, I mean, I think her face pretty much just looking at some recent pictures of her.
How is Liv looking?
Not bad. I mean, I don't think she looks great, but I don't think she looks bad either. You know, I would just say
Creep says, I think Genesis 2 for the both of you as punishment for missing the stream the other day.
Don't remind me of Genesis 2. I'm going to have to review that soon.
We're reviewing the look. I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote this, but you're like, really? I love you. Victor, you're right. She looks older now. She's aging normally and looks like she'd look as a 40-something-year-old. Absolutely.
Yeah,
the
last major movie she was in was Ad Astra in 2019. So that was 6 years ago. And depending on if she considered herself retired, an actor can change a lot in 6 years.
Oh, no kidding, for sure.
You know, if they're not trying to maintain actor physique, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And then so she was, but it looks like she was consistently working from 2019 and all the way back to Incredible Hulk. You know,
Mike Richards says there's no truth to the rumor Liv Tyler's really Steven Tyler in drag.
Well, technically,
Planet X says at least Mr. Know-It-All won't accuse me of being above God for asking the definitions of words.
Oh man, you missed it. He was on it again. Did I tell you about Planet X in the definitions about?
No, I don't think so. But that sounds awesome.
So I won't spoil anything, Planet X. Why don't you ask Mr. Know-It-All the questions you asked me, and because now, and I will tell you, theologically, me and Mr. Know-It-All have differences of opinion. So he could say something totally different than what I said. but I kind of doubt he will.
No, for sure.
But yeah, I'll see if he does it. If he doesn't, I'll ask you the questions.
Right on.
So Critical Dream is not really published. He's fan funded, not a Hollywood movie. He's a sham. Well, look, I'm not. I don't think it's fair to call him a sham.
And also, that's the crowdfunding got them started, but he actually did midway through pre-production because of the crowdfunding. There was a production company, small one, that did decide to partner with him and brought another chunk of money so they could be part of this deal. But they took over some aspects, and those are the aspects that, according to him, is why it didn't work. To be fair, I know we joke. Another thing is, it is very difficult to do anything.
Right,
broad production wise, it took an act of God to get my pilot made that we were selling to Netflix before the pandemic, and very much if he got anything done, crowdfunded or not, that is an achievement that needs to be recognized, whether it was good or not. I'm not even getting into all that. In general, hey man, you made a thing, guys. If you can do better, go out and make a thing.
100% right here. Any funding is funding, and so. Regardless, and think about it, a lot of movies, shows, and stuff of relatively good and bad quality have been, crowdfunded. So there's nothing. That's not, I don't think, a bad thing. It has nothing to do with how we got the money for it. It's just that and like you said, it is an accomplishment to actually make a feature length anything, but. Don't try to use that as credential of why he's great when what he makes sucks.
So real quick, Planet X says, "Oh no, how dare I ask the definition of words? Theology changes the definitions of words?" ? Huh? Was that one of the questions, or can I?
Okay, so no. Here,
because I actually do want to real quick. I want to comment on that.
So
theology does not, in fact, change the definition of words. Theology exposes the original intended definition of the word based on its use.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with our discussion, but we'll see what you think. So question number 1. Okay.
Hold on, you've got these? Like just handy?
Well, it's not hard. It's not like like a series of 20 questions.
Oh, okay. I was like, good Lord, y'all just went through all this.
All right. So the question is, does Christ advocate theft in the Bible?
that's a no. In fact, I would say absolutely not. Categorically not.
Right.
In fact, the exact opposite. He flat out says, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's."
But you see, here's the problem. That, and this is where we got into it. That, according to Planet X, is saying that he does advocate theft because he then asks, "Does Jesus say pay your taxes?"
Yeah, he says. Well, he says, "Render unto
Okay,
Caesar what is Caesar."
but he defines taxes as theft. Therefore, Jesus advocates for theft.
Well, I mean, realistically, you could also go down the route. I mean, no offense, Matthew was literally a tax collector, the most hated of the hated. He betrayed his people, and yet still was used in wonderful. I think that's very the nature of grace, though. But it's an entire subject. Again, welcome to Open Mic Saturday.
Yeah.
I think it's a completely I think it's a you get into
And
it.
so So what Planet X is trying to say is that I advocate theft because I said pay your taxes. And I was trying to say paying taxes is not theft. It's not, the government isn't, and even though I understand a lot of people have a difficult time with this, I don't like
Planet X. I don't advocate theft. You do.
Yeah, you see, he's very passionate about this. Don't get me wrong, Planet X.
I'm not laughing at you. By the way, I'm
I-
not laughing at you, Planet X. I love you. You're still one of my homies. I'm just laughing at the vehemence of the all
Oh
caps.
no, and
You
I hope Planet X knows that I love him
exposed
too.
Open Mic Saturday. Creep said.
Yeah. So
real fast. We skipped real fast. Past
right. So where we kept. See, and then now he's asking what is a tax because he defines a tax as
okay. Hold on. So this was the conversation. This basically was
this is the whole conversation.
I got it.
And so and see.
No, you're good. You guys are good. I get it. I totally get it.
So he believes that a tax is theft because the government is taking your money involuntarily. However, you have to understand that while we don't like taxes, taxes are a necessary part of every government. There's no such thing as a government that doesn't tax in any way. And even when our government didn't have an income tax, it was still taxing. It just didn't have an income tax.
I'm really sorry, by the way. Stanley points out, it's your fault, Mr. Know-It-All. Yeah. It is so my fault. I own this. I own this so much. It is on me, bro. I am so sorry. When you canceled on Wednesday, we got stuck in the tax theft argument for 5 hours, Stanley said.
Oh, yeah. He's not exaggerating. That live stream was over 5 hours long. And that is not a joke.
Oh, my God.
But yeah,
oh my God! Look at the comments is exploding. We definitely are going off course here.
Yeah.
Clearly, we need to change channels fast.
And then we know others. I love we talked about the Gospel of Thomas. I don't know if you've ever read the Gospel of Thomas.
No, I don't read non-canonical material.
Yeah, they are insane, and that's the thing. Like,
canonical material. Yeah,
people say things like, "Well, why wasn't this left in?" Right, and it's like it's not a matter of being left in. It was.
Why wasn't this other book that talks about goblins left?
That's like, but you know what? Honestly, asking why the Gospel of Thomas was not in the biblical canon is like asking, why isn't Star Wars part of Star Trek canon?
You ready? Why it wasn't included?
Huh?
You know why it wasn't included?
Why?
They doubted it was real.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's really bad.
That's nothing like inside religion jokes. Okay, yeah. Most people who have no connection to that are like, "What?" Trust me,
I don't get it.
You're good.
It was so funny because I was watching these two guys debate over whether or not God existed, and they were talking about the account of Thomas in the Gospel.
Part of my audience. This is
the word
part of my audience.
Yeah,
word fights.
They were talking about the account of Thomas in the book of John, about the whole thing about him doubting, right? But and they both of them kept trying to avoid using the word of how they doubt something based on it. Like they kept trying to dance around it because they were like, well, it lowers my confidence that it's true. It's like they couldn't say the word doubt because they spent this time talking about Thomas, which I thought was hilarious.
All right, look, normally this is the part where during some part of him talking, I would cut him off. And that's been a tradition